What's up everyone, welcome to another video. In this video, I will build an awesome vocal booth step by step with PVC pipe and moving blankets for less than $150 with a complete list of parts, cost, and drawings, as well as audio comparison results. To begin, I've tried recording in many places over the years, but the audio is always awful because the sound bounces and echoes. The sound reflects off of walls and hard surfaces. A place with sound absorption is needed to stop sound reflections. I've been using my clothes closet for the last 4 years because the clothes, carpet, and curtains absorb the sound. But this is not ideal, and I finally built a dedicated vocal booth. Here we are at the beginning of the project. I'm putting together a little YouTube area, and the vocal booth will go right here in this corner. Let's start with the PVC framework. The moving blankets are 80 inches tall, so I plan to make it 80 inches tall to match. I do have a height restriction in this room because it has a low drop ceiling. The ceiling is 84 inches tall, so 80 inches is a good height to clear the ceiling while maximizing height. And I have 58 inches of horizontal space available, which is way more than enough. With the dimensions figured out, let's go get some PVC pipe. This is 1-inch Schedule 40 pipe. This stuff is way too flexible. It's not suitable at all. Don't even consider it. And this is 1 1/4 inch Schedule 40 pipe. It's a little better, but I wouldn't waste my time and money building a booth around it. And this is 1 1/2 inch Schedule 40 pipe. It is rigid and strong. This is the pipe to use. And we need 6 sticks of it. But again, I will give all of the dimensions and design details at the end of the video. The other PVC component is a 3-way elbow. We need 8 of them, 1 for each corner. But these are not plumbing fittings on the shelf at the hardware store. These are made for furniture applications, and I purchased them from Amazon. Now, before we start cutting the pipes, note that when they are installed into the corner pieces, they only insert to this ridge. The insert depth is 1 1/2 inches. So that means when the pipe is inserted, the elbows add an additional 2 inches to the end. And with that pointed out, it's time to cut all of the pipes to length. The desired overall length of the vertical pipes is 80 inches. Adjusting for the 2 inches of elbow at each end, we need to cut them to 76 inches. And here's the first cut. I'm using a compound miter saw, but you could also use a handsaw. I've done plenty of projects like this with basic tools back before I had power tools. So here's the vertical piece, which will be 80 inches tall from top to bottom with the 3-way elbows installed on the ends. And what's left over will be the horizontal piece, which will be 48 inches with the elbows installed. I have room for it, so I'll just roll with it. But you can cut them shorter if you want a smaller booth. And here are the other 3 vertical pieces being cut to length, which resulted in the 4 vertical pieces and 4 horizontal pieces. But we need 4 more horizontal pieces, which will come from these. And here are the rest of the cuts. I got 2 more horizontal pieces out of each 10-foot stick. So we have the 4 vertical pieces and the 8 horizontal pieces. And these are unused scrap pieces. Now, let's bring them inside and assemble them. But I did clean them off first before I brought them in. Make sure to clean them first, otherwise you will have PVC shavings all over the place. Now, let's assemble them. Personally, I first build a square frame with the short horizontal pieces for the top. Just push everything together really well to fully insert all of the pipes into the corner pieces. These are a very tight and secure fit, and no adhesive is required. Then I repeated the process and built a second square frame for the bottom. After that, I inserted the vertical post into the bottom frame. And the next step would be to set the top frame on top of the posts. However, halfway through, I decided to go back and reposition the pipes so the red text was facing out. So I would only see white pipes with no text when standing inside after it was assembled. And here I am trying to rotate the posts on the top frame to reposition the text. It was brutal. I eventually got it, but it was very challenging. Make sure you orientate the text where you want it the first time you assemble it. There's no text on the visible surfaces, and all of the text is on the non-visible surfaces. Now let's install it on top of the framework. I brought the top frame in and set it on top of the vertical posts. I got each post started in the corner pieces, then once they were aligned, I went around and hung on all of them to fully insert them. And here we are, the PVC frame is complete. It is strong and sturdy, and I have plenty of room inside. It's a little bigger than it needs to be, but I have the space for it, so it's perfect for me. The pipe size and the corner elbows were perfect. I wouldn't change anything. And again, there's no text visible from the inside, talking to you from the future. After having used this for a while, I'm really happy I made that adjustment, and I highly recommend doing it. Now it's time for the sides and the top. For that, I used moving blankets. I need 4, 3 for the sides and 1 for the top. And I got them from Harbor Freight Tools, where they're inexpensive and even on sale quite often. This is the price I got them at. And the next step is to hang them from the top frame all the way around. The height is a perfect fit because we made the frame 80 inches tall to match the blankets. To hang them, I used zip ties. I have white and black, but I went with white to match the frame. For simplicity, I was tempted to just punch a hole through the blanket and run a zip tie through it, then hang it up. However, I didn't want that unprotected hole to rip over time from the weight of the blanket hanging from it. So I used this grommet kit to add appropriate holes to hang from. It's very easy to use. There's the strike plate, the hole punch, the anvil, the grommet, the washer, and the setter. Get a stable surface to work on. Set down the strike plate. Put the blanket on top of it. Use the hole punch to punch a hole through it. Remove the strike plate and set the anvil underneath. Put the grommet through the hole and locate it on the anvil. Set the washer on, round side up, and give the setter one whack with the hammer to secure it. And you're all set. It's pretty easy. But here's a tip. Give the setter one whack. That's all it takes. Don't beat the bejeezers out of it. I did on the first grommet, and it started to punch through the blanket around the perimeter. One crisp whack is all it takes. So I went through and added grommets to the top edge of all 3 blankets. It was pretty easy and went pretty quick. For spacing, I put 1 in each corner. Then along the edge, I placed 1 in every other zag, which was every 12 inches. Now it's time to hang them up. If I place the first one and run them all the way around, I will end up with 2 feet of overlap with the beginning edge. I centered this 2-foot overlap on the frame. This is the door. I open the flap of the overlap to enter, and it closes and seals behind me. So let's hang it up. Zip tie the blanket to the outside of the PVC frame through the grommet, and start working your way around. When you get to the end of the blanket, overlap it with the next blanket and share the corner grommets. And continue all the way around with 1 more overlap and the 2-foot door flap last. And here's the last ingredient, safety pins. These are size 3, which are 2 inches long. Make sure you get big ones like this. Head inside of the vocal booth. We need to deal with the 2 overlap seams. Line them up and pull them tight, and use a safety pin to connect them. I safety pinned the whole seam from top to bottom to secure it. You could also sew it, which would be nice, but this is what I did. And last is the roof. It was a little bit challenging, but slide the blanket over the top. I adjusted it so the side, the back, and the other side are all at the same level, so they will match up when I clean up these corners. And the top is a little bit shorter in the front. This is because the blanket is a rectangle and not a square, but it worked out because this is where the door is. I don't want it way down here because I will have to duck under it to get in and to get out. It's good up here, so I can get in and out without ducking under the roof blanket. Next, I folded the back 2 corners so they look nice and clean, and I pinned them into place. Then I cleaned up the front corners and pinned those into place as well. And maybe it looks better if I fold these up so they're on an angle. I don't know. And this is how it ended up. The front is a little bit lower than I planned, and the back is a little bit higher than I planned. But things moved around a little when I was pulling everything tight to get the slack out of the roof. And now that it's complete, I pushed it back into the corner where it's going to be used. It's lightweight and very easy to move around. Once positioned, the floor needs to be a rug or a moving blanket or something like that. But not a hard floor, which will reflect the sounds. This room has carpet, so I'm all set. And last is a light and any furniture that you need for your recording setup. I brought in a tall lamp that I already owned, and ran the cord out through the bottom. Be careful bringing in a bunch of objects with hard surface area that sound will reflect off of. Ideally, the objects will be soft. Here's an example. This is a stool covered in fabric. It'll help to absorb the sound and not reflect it. Now, let's talk about using it. I used it to voice over this whole video, and it's been awesome. It's so nice to have a dedicated space for recording, and the door has functioned wonderfully. I will point out that it's big inside. For example, I can fit a whole desk and chair inside of here. I'm not complaining, but it's bigger than it needs to be if space is a constraint. Looking online, this vocal booth kit is 33 inches wide, and mine is 48 inches wide, which is significantly larger. And I will also point out that it can get warm in here, being fully insulated with a light and electronics inside. Now, let's do some vocal comparison tests. For all of these tests, I'm using the raw audio from this Corsair mic, which does a great job of cleaning up audio on its own. 1, 2, 3, microphone test. I am talking in this room. 1, 2, 3, microphone check, microphone test. I am talking in this room. 1, 2, 3, microphone check, microphone test. I am talking in this room. 1, 2, 3, microphone check, microphone test. I am talking in this car. 1, 2, 3, microphone check, microphone test. I am talking in this room. 1, 2, 3, microphone check, microphone test. I am talking in the booth. Out of the many places I've tried over the years, open rooms are the worst. I have had success in vehicles, but it's not convenient, and not even an option most of the time due to hot or cold weather. I had the best success in my clothes closet, but I was ready for something different. I think the vocal booth is comparable to my clothes closet, but the dedicated space is a huge level up. And last are the design documents. Here's the parts list with costs. The normal full prices are shown, but I personally used some coupons and paid about $110 for everything. I will put product links in the video description, but of course, most of these are common items that you can get elsewhere. And here's the cut list for the PVC frame built in this video, but you can adjust the lengths to change the height or width as needed. And here's an assembly drawing of the frame with the overall dimensions. And last is a moving blanket with the grommets installed. So that wraps this up. I hope you found it helpful. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.